Good evening, nerds, it's Fenner. It's time to continue the Overwatch hype train. If you don't know what Overwatch is yet, it's a team-based first-person shooter based around objectives most commonly compared to Team Fortress 2. You will be using unique heroes to battle in 6 vs 6 combat. Anyway, I've been doing a series to take a look at all of the heroes currently announced, take a peek into their skills and gameplay to get myself and you guys ready for when it goes live. The last episode we talked about the LSD robot, but next up we'll be talking about a slightly more sophisticated lady.
Welcome to my reality.
Symmetra. Satya Vaswani is a 28-year-old architect from Utopia, India, affiliated with the Vishkar Corporation. She fulfills a support role. Symmetra bends reality by manipulating hard-like constructs, crafting the world as she likes in hopes of engineering a perfect society. The Vishkar Corporation created a city called Utopia, using hard-like technologies to create the city in the blink of an eye. The Vishkar Corp saw more potential in Symmetra's abilities other than just being an architect, and sent her on missions around the world to expand its influence into other countries. She believes her actions serve the greater good in society. Anyway, let's have a look at the abilities of the cute Indian lady. Her main weapon is the Photon Projector. This works in a similar way to Mercer's heal weapon or the TF2 medic's weapon, only it hits enemies rather than allies. It's a short-range beam. Once left-click activates the beam, it stays locked onto the target until the target moves out of range. The longer the beam stays on the enemy, the more damage it will put out. It takes 3 seconds of continuous fire to reach max damage. This is actually a pretty high damage weapon for a support character. The Photon Projector also has a secondary fire. When right-click is pressed and held, she charges her weapon. It takes 2 seconds to charge up but can be held after the 2 seconds. Once released, the weapon releases a photon ball projectile that moves very slowly. It damages anyone it passes through. One unique thing about this is that it can actually pass through shields. The weapon comes with 100 ammo per reload, the main beam uses about 8 ammo per second, while the photon ball uses 30 per shot. While the beam is high damage, you have to remember that she is a support and as such has pretty low HP, and the beam is extremely short range. However, if a low HP aggro hero jumped on her, then she'd still possibly be able to fend for herself a little bit. The ball is just nice for throwing at shielded enemies or into tight spaces where lots of enemies are. Honestly, it will probably rarely hit, but it will force the opponents to spread out and push them out of their position when they see the ball coming at them. Sentry Turret. Her next ability is the Sentry Turret. Symmetra has the power to create small turrets on most surfaces. When an enemy moves into range of the turret, it will unleash a beam on the enemy, slowing them down and dealing damage at the same time. As far as I know, 6 turrets are allowed at once, and when stacked up, actually do pretty nice damage. This ability will be best used in corridors that enemies will want to move through, just outside of a doorway. Either the enemy will get surprised and take a lot of damage, or it will limit their capability to use that pathway, or costing them time to break down the turrets. Since they can be put on walls and roofs, they can be well hidden from line of sight. Photon Shield. Her E ability. When used, she surrounds an ally with a shield that absorbs damage and persists until the ally dies. The shield absorbs 50 damage, then regenerates 25 every 3 seconds after being hit up to a maximum of 50. This is a pretty basic shield and there's not too much to say about it. However, Symmetra is a support without a real heal, instead using shields to protect allies and keep them alive longer. Teleporter. Her ultimate ability. Not the most exciting ultimate, I know, but Symmetra can throw down a teleporter exit which is connected to a teleporter at the team's spawn point, allowing them to teleport into battle quickly. The teleporter has 10 charges and once done will implode. Obviously, this is extremely powerful, saving your teammates valuable seconds to get back onto the battlefield and defend the objective. So, how will Symmetra play out in the average game? Symmetra's playstyle will obviously be very supportive. While her weapon can deal a lot of damage, it will mostly be used to defend herself if an aggressive hero gets too close to her. Attempting to get into enemy lines and use it will be a bit suicidal, as she has no good escape, slow movement speed, and low HP. Most of her time will be dedicated to shielding allies, and allies should be shielded every time the cooldown is off. Next, her time should be dedicated to spamming Sentry Turrets. Since she can have 6 of them and they will be dying a lot, this will take up a lot of time. Finding the right locations for the Sentry Turrets will be vital, since it will pretty much define whether she does well or not. Exits of corridors, or rooms with objectives, on the roof or on door frames to avoid line of sight are the obvious choices for Sentry Turrets. Whenever there is a little opening to fire off a long-range ball with the secondary fire of the weapon, then it should be taken. While it may not do much since it's easy to dodge, you might as well, right? Last of all, teleporter should be used just outside of where the action is happening, which will usually be at an objective. Preferably in a safe spot behind a wall so your allies don't die as they come out. Symmetra may have some strength against teams with shield heroes since her secondary fire goes through shield, but it's hard to tell how much of an effect this will have. I also think she'll be strong against close range aggro heavy teams. The shield works out better than healing against the burst damage, and then she has a strong beam to protect herself. So what is her weakness? I'm gonna go ahead and say she's a weaker support when the enemy team consists of slower mid-range damage. Since then you're probably better off having a healer instead. Pharah would be one of these, dealing rocket AoE damage to allies, possibly McCree, and also Junkrat would work pretty damn well. That does it for this brief look at Symmetra. I wasn't really excited for her and I'm not a big fan of playing support classes myself, which she seems like one of the most fun support heroes so far. I like that she will have a lot to do on the map rather than just plonking a turret down like Torbjorn, and sitting next to it. If I play a support, she'll definitely be my pick from the ones I've covered so far. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Peace nerds.
Turret deployed.